written by the usual outlets, mainly The Guardian and so forth, but the usual haters are very determined. And so, in many ways, they do.
Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. Morrissey drops this video over on YouTube. 8-minute diatribe, the State of the Union, State of the Morrissey. And he's essentially not very happy about the fact that he's not getting a whole lot of good press lately. He's not getting a whole lot of good reviews and good coverage behind his new album. And much to his astute observation, it seems like a lot of this is stemming from the fact that he had some very questionable comments recently in an interview where he was talking about this rash of sexual assault and harassment accusations in the media, in film, news, television, etc. And I of course had to facepalm when I read some of these comments first. Morrissey was talking about specifically some of the allegations against Kevin Spacey, which at the time when he talked about them, they were pretty fresh. I wonder how much he even knew about all of this before he just decided he was going to, in a very frank way, just go completely off the cuff, which Morrissey, because of his popularity, because of his position in modern music, because of his contributions to modern music, I think he's enjoyed a certain amount of freedom with what he feels like saying in interviews, even though he has gotten himself in hot water in the past again and again and again. But I feel like he has enjoyed a certain level of freedom and this ability to be frank, which I think he really should have recalibrated that in the internet age before he said what he said in this interview. Now, I don't think his complaints here are completely correct, because I do think a lot of the material on his new record is kind of mediocre, sort of, a bit of a standard contemporary Morrissey affair, I guess. But still, it's sort of understandable that he would get a bit of backlash for what he said here, where essentially in response to the accusations against Kevin Spacey, which he pretty much owned up to, but also simultaneously tried to deflect from in a really ugly way by coming out as gay in his Twitter post, which I don't see why Morrissey didn't hold issue with that. That to me is like actually one of the grossest things about Kevin Spacey's apology on social media. But he just sort of goes into wondering, where were the boy's parents and da-da-da-da-da, which, sure, if you want to ask those questions, you can ask those questions, but ultimately, who is in the wrong there is the abuser, is the aggressor in that situation, which is clearly the adult in the situation. It's not the 14-year-old boy. I mean, sure, maybe you felt at age 14 you were really observant and you were aware of the world around you, and you knew not to put yourself in that situation or those types of situations, but still, the person who is ultimately in the wrong in that situation is obviously Kevin Spacey. There's really no question about it. And then going on from there, he says, you must be careful as far as sexual harassment is concerned, because often it can just be a pathetic attempt at courtship. I'm sure it's horrific, but we have to keep everything in proportion. Do you agree? It's almost like he's separating these two things when they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. Sure, somebody can be pathetically trying to court you by being really gross and really aggressive, but that doesn't make it not sexual harassment. Like, it's still sexual harassment. It's still gross. It's still inappropriate. It's still a mistreatment of the person, a very grave mistreatment of the person who you are sexually harassing. So it's almost like he's trying to pull the two apart and say, it's really just this. So listen, I'm not here to define Morrissey's comments. I'm just here to state them and put them back into context. When he is making this video over here saying, everybody hates me and I don't know why. Everybody's just spreading lies about me. And for the most part, a lot of the coverage I've been seeing around this has just been repasting Morrissey's comments. I don't see how in the greater context of what you said, what you stated here looks good. It really doesn't. It does not look very good. And he sort of seems to be completely unable to own up to that. And he sort of seems to be under the impression that this is just gonna this is just gonna blow over in the same way that every provocative thing he's ever said is going to blow over, which maybe not. I really don't know how things pan out in the internet age with outrage culture. And I think he makes some fair points on that very thing in this video. However, separate discussion, separate issue entirely. I don't think people are outraged at you just because they hate you, or just because they don't like you, or just because they just have it out against you, or people want to be angry. Absolutely, there certainly is a benefit and a profit to posting articles and posting news items that get people mad, get people clicking, get people sharing, create and stir and feed into controversy. Controversy is sort of the moneymaker in the modern age when it comes to internet media. But I don't think people sort of made up a controversy here. I think you said something that was legitimately controversial, and you're actually kind of getting a slap on the wrist for it, because the media is much more adversarial than they used to be. The tone and the social landscape has changed, and you didn't, check which way the wind was blowing before you opened your mouth, and now it's just not really looking that good. I feel like maybe Morrissey could have come back, and I think he eventually will, as long as he just stays quiet on this, because I think his music and his art speaks much louder than his actions, what he's contributed. However, I think these things tend to stay around, and people tend to remember this stuff, especially in an age where, you're not really pulling that many new fans with your new material, you know what I mean? You're mostly just kind of feeding into your cult following, who are very passionate about what you do, and are maybe going to be more forgiving when you say things like this. However, a bulk of people, I think a lot of people, are going to see what you said and understand it for what it was, just really kind of insensitive, sort of thoughtless, not very sympathetic to people who kind of suffer through these situations. He even went on to say, "I've never been sexually harassed," which, I mean, good for you, but a lot of people are, unfortunately. And again, it's just really thoughtless, some of the comments he rattled off in this conversation. And it seems like he's really kind of doubling down on that in a really unflattering way in this video, and I'm really not sure what to say about it. And it seems like he himself is trying to hop on top of like a moralistic soapbox, saying, well, I remember victims of terrorism, which to me is just like more deflection. It's just like, I don't know, just address what you said, address what it meant, address how people took it, and just recontextualize your statements, instead of just kind of saying, well, I didn't say what people said I meant. It seems like there are a dozen different roads he could have took it in, other than this one, which in a lot of ways kind of looks worse. Those are my thoughts. Video link down there in the description box. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. You're the best. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out, or you can click on the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, forever.